The 14th Year of Chenghua. Chapter 117. Acting School and Villain Eats Villain. Standing outside the door was a big, tall man wearing the true 7th rank court general of the Chenghua. If any distinguishing features of his were to be spoken of, that would be his mustache that blocked practically half of his face. Still, his eyes were bright, and as he stood there, his extraordinary bearing felt like a deep pool of still water, a peak on a tall mountain. What a shame it was that Tang Fan had no martial arts knowledge. Were Lu Lingzi here, he would know that the other man was definitely an expert fighter. The man held his fist towards Tang Fan, who was still embracing the beauty. This subordinate is De Han, Court General of Chenghua Wujian Guard Post. Greetings, Sir Tang. Tang Fan creased his brow. Who sent you? I was ordered to come protect you by Chenghua. Tang Fan's expression sank. He told you to come protect me, so why did you barge in here for no reason? What's your purpose? De Han bowed his head. This subordinate acknowledges my mistake. I simply didn't hear your answer and felt anxious, fearing that you had met with mishap. Do you feel that coming to protect me is a waste of a resource like you, Court Commander did? Tang Fan coldly asked. If that's so, I can go to Chenghua and tell him to give me a replacement. Hearing this, De Han immediately knelt. I acknowledge my mistake. Please don't drive me away, sir. Chenghua told me over and over again to obey your every word, yet I was reckless. Please forgive me. Tang Fan peered at him for a long time. Didn't I ask him to send 2 people over? Why are you alone? Perhaps he sees my skills as adequate, and felt that one person was enough. The other was angered into amusement. You're not modest at all. Thank you for your praise. This subordinate is too ashamed to accept it, De Han answered, true to rhythm. Xiao Wu, an actively radiating beauty, was sitting there, yet he had only given her a glance when he had come in. After that, his line of sight never landed upon her again. Since Chenghua told you to obey my every word, I want you to do one thing right now, Tang Fan said. Please instruct, sir. Leave. De Han finally had a rare startled expression. I'm telling you to leave now, shut the door, and not disturb us. Did you not hear? Tang Fan repeated. I did. De Han silently left. Tang Fan relaxed his arm on Xiao Wu's waist. Then, the door opened once more, and De Han's dawdling face showed up again. Sir, this subordinate will stand guard outside. If you have an order, you only need to yell. Tang Fan nearly keeled backwards out of anger. Get out. The room resumed tranquility at last. Tang Fan let go of Xiao Wu. Pardon this laughable performance, Miss Xiao. She lowered her head, too bashful to speak, only able to warn him out of embarrassment, Sir, the food has gotten cold. How about I make a fresh batch and send it over? There's no rush to eat. I have something to say to you, Miss Xiao, he said softly. Her head got even lower, hands wringing the hem of her clothes as she was silent. Following their recent bout of close contact, the ambiguous feeling between them grew denser. A man like Tang Fan would never have been so audacious if he didn't have genuine interest in a woman. Despite her doing all she could to hide the expression on her face, her hands still slightly trembled beyond her control. Such a young, handsome, and graceful young master had repeatedly shown his intent to get closer. How many women in this world would not be moved by that? Expectedly, she heard him ask, Are you engaged, Miss Xiao? That question was much too hinting. Her face grew even redder, and she had no idea how to answer, until she suddenly remembered something and raised her head. Sir, why did you believe I poisoned your food earlier? Tang Fan smiled apologetically at her. We've met twice before under too much coincidental opportunities. I believed that someone else had sent you, so I thought to probe. She bit her lip. And what about now? Now, I still think that you're pretty suspicious, but I can't control my own heart, he confessed. The first half made her face pale, but the second half made it go from white to scarlet. Massively shocked and pleased, her body nearly couldn't take it. She hesitated for a time, then drummed up her courage. Actually, I know what it is that you're suspecting. Xiao Wu lowered her head. I won't hide it from you. I'm not a woman from a good family. What I said before about seeking shelter with relatives was a lie. A good woman certainly wouldn't be like me, coming into a man's room in the middle of the night, right? If you want to speak, you can. If you don't, I won't force you to, he said softly. She abruptly looked up. Really? Really? Tears rippled like waves of stars for a very long time in her eyes, then finally fell. Not all beauties looked good when they cried, but the phrase "dude pear blossom" couldn't be more appropriate for her. Have you heard of Yang Zhu's Lin Mares before? She asked him. He had, of course. Yang Zhou Lin Mares were pretty young girls bought for cheap from poor families in order to be trained for prostitution. Whether they had literary attainments in the four arts or skills in bed to seduce men, they were all stunningly beautiful, and thus could be sold at high prices, either as high-grade brothel workers or concubines to wealthy families. They were highly popular in the Jiangnan region, and there were even people that specialized in this industry, similar to human brokers. Seeing him nod, she continued. I used to be a lean mare, actually. I was bought when I was 14 to become the concubine of a wealthy merchant. After he died, his primary wife could no longer tolerate me and drove me out, which was why you met me outside of Yangzhou City. I have been working to attend to men since I was learning characters, and after that, I was kept like a bird in the cage. I never knew how hard it would be to make a path for myself in life. If it hadn't been for you, sir, I'm afraid I would have already. Xiao Wu wiped her tears, smiling softly. Now you know. After that I met you, I shouldn't have deluded myself in deliberately disguising myself as a proper lady. I'm not one at all. She was wiping away tears more and more as they flowed all the more profusely. Unable to speak any more, she abruptly stood up, then turned to leave. Tang Fan grabbed her hand, then pulled her back into his embrace, hugging her tight. Ah Wu. As soon as that nickname hit her ears, Xiao Wu's slender frame shuddered slightly, and she immediately went limp in his arms. I really like you, his voice came from over her head. I've liked you since I first saw you. I don't care about your status, either, as long as you say one thing. If you agree to come with me, I'll bring you back to the capital, and take you as a bride. As soon as he said that, a knock sounded from the door again. Sir, it's late. You should rest, De Han said outside. Tang Fan was furious. You keep making trouble. I told you to wait outside, didn't you hear? Then, he softly asked Xiao Wu, did that scare you? She lightly shook her head. There was quiet outside once more. The two maintained their hugging pose. Tang Fan had no plan to let go, and Xiao Wu didn't struggle, only saying softly, this one's heart is the same as yours. Ah Wu, he said, elatedly. She covered his mouth that was about to speak, smiling bitterly. But I'll never dare to expect to be wed to you as the primary wife. With my status, as long as I can stay by your side and attend to you, that will already be my greatest blessing. His eyes were gentle. Don't you worry. My parents are dead, and my older sister is excellent at understanding other people. She won't stop us. Xiao Wu shook her head. But my identity will make you a laughingstock in bureaucracy. You don't need to say anything more, sir, I can understand your intent. I am already quite happy, really. From childhood to adulthood, no one has ever been so honest to me, and no man has ever said that he wanted to take me as a wife. Tang Fan sighed, stroking her hair with his palm. After a long while, he said softly, don't speak of such depressing things. I still have something very important to do. Chen Luan deceived the sovereign and sold disaster relief provisions for soaring profits. I must find evidence of that to report to the court, so that I can bring you back to the capital as soon as possible. During this period, I might not be able to look out for you, so stay in the post house and minimize going outside as much as possible, lest Chen Luan gets desperate and tries to threaten me with you as my weakness. Are you in danger, then? She asked, worried. He gripped her hand. I shouldn't be. I have something of a connection with the Chenghua, so they sent someone to protect me. Is there not one standing outside right now? She huffed out a laugh, her tears breaking into a smile. It seems to me that he's here to manage you. He gave a powerless expression. The Chenghua has always been domineering. I only have a friendship with their commander, I can't control them. As long as he can protect me, what changes in the weather will matter? She laughed. I didn't sleep at all last night, only shutting my eyes for a minute just then. Now I'm a little weary. I'll leave, then, she quickly said. I'll bring you breakfast tomorrow. He smiled. If you're willing to keep accompanying me, I don't mind much. Xiao Wu's face flushed. Speechless out of embarrassment, she picked up the tray of food, lowered her head to hide, and left. Tang Fan didn't chase after her, merely watching with an infatuated gaze, his eyes so soft, they were about to drip water. Even though Xiao Wu didn't turn to look, she could still feel his burning sight on her back. Strictly speaking, back at Yangzhou City, the one who had saved her was Lu Lingzi, but for a woman like her, Tang Fan would be the target of her ultimate affection. She had long set her heart upon a secret promise, but never spoke it out, only silently following him to Suzhou, then coincidentally getting saved by him yet again. Were mysterious forces truly at work? Was fate truly set by the heavens? If she could go with him back to the capital. Thinking of that, her charming fate heated up all the redder, and even her footsteps got a little more chaotic. When Xiao Wu had shut the door and gone far away, Tang Fan then stretched out his back, smile not fading from his face. Dihan, are you outside? I am, a voice said from outside. Come on in. Dihan pushed the door open, only to hear Tang Fan say, I'm a bit tired. Go and fetch me some water to wash my feet in. Not waiting for his answer, Tang Fan slightly looked up. What is it? You refuse to? I'll have Zhang Qin who replace you, then. This subordinate will do it. Dihan turned and left, then speedily returned with a basin of water, placed it beneath Tang Fan's feet, and reached out to pull up Tang Fan's trouser leg. Tang Fan coughed. No need, I can do it myself. Just sit down, I have something to ask you. Dihan ignored his rejection. With that facial hair, his expression couldn't be clearly seen, but his voice was very sincere. Since this subordinate is following you, I should attend to you in everything. Otherwise, if you go to Zhang Qinhu and complain, I will never be able to live it down. Please give me a chance, sir. Before Tang Fan could refuse, he had already rolled up Tang Fan's pants, cupped some water in his hands, then lightly pat the top of the other's feet. Once the other was used to the water temperature, he lifted and placed his feet into the water. Tang Fan was a man, so his feet couldn't be described as delicate looking, but they were fair, slender, and had well-proportioned bones that weren't frail, giving them a just right beauty. When Dihan held them, he also noticed that their soles had thin calluses. Civil officials always took sedan chairs or carriages when they went out, and wouldn't walk more than a few li normally. Where did the calluses come from? Tang Fan seemed to see his doubts, answering languidly, did you forget? Before I became a palace honorate, I spent a few years traveling all across the country, countless roads going under my feet. Getting calluses is normal. Dihan lowered his head to help him wash his feet. You must have remembered wrong, sir. You never told me this before, so how would I be able to forget it? Tang Fan hummed in contemplation. Then maybe I mistook you for someone else. About that, though, you just barged in over and over again. What crime deserved that? This subordinate only worried that you would come across danger. Tang Fan sneered. I think you saw a stunner and got carried away. Would you like a few more chances to soak her in? Dehan went quiet for a moment. Sir, that woman's background is odd. She isn't a simple character. Tang Fan shook his head. I might as well let you know that I've taken a liking to her and will receive her in a few days' time. If you don't have any intent towards her, that's fine. This official isn't going to give up easily out. What are pressing so hard for? You're about breaking my ankle. Letting go, Dehan saw that there was indeed a new red mark on it. He helped the other man by kneading it. I didn't mean to. Tang Fan took back his feet, then wiped them off with a kerchief while waving him off, as if he was swatting a fly. Sure, sure. Go out. Don't disturb my sleep. Before he could finish speaking, he was suddenly thrown back onto the bed. What are you doing? He asked angrily. Their eyes faced off, noses almost touching. They were so close to each other, they could feel each other's hot breath there as they exhaled. Forgive this subordinate's abruptness, Dehan said slowly, though he still had no intent to get up. Staring at him, he enunciated his each and every word. That woman's motives are unknown. Please don't be swindled by her, sir. Tang Fan laughed. Isn't she Chen Luan's favorite concubine? I don't care. What is this about being swindled? Dehan was caught off guard. You know. Do you think that your Jinyi is my only source of information, and I would dare to bust into Yangzhou without knowing anything? You look down on me too much. How did you know? How long are you going to hold me down for? Sorry. Dehan looked deeply at Tang Fan, then finally let go of him and got up. The latter lightly huffed, lifting his chin. Go take the water out. This official is going to rest. Please clear up this subordinate's confusion, sir. Are you begging me? Tang Fan wondered. Dehan breathed out quietly. Yes. This subordinate begs that you clear up my confusion. Tang Fan's mood went high. Seeing that you're being so sincere, I will very compassionately let you know that as early as when I met her on the streets of Suzhou a second time, I have suspected her. Witnessing Dehan's slightly doubtful look, he went on. Know oneself, know the enemy. Only when anticipating your foe's crucial moves will one have no losses in 100 battles. Before leaving the capital, I had Wang Zhi help me with look for information on Hu Wenzhou, Chen Luan, and Yang Ji. For Chen Luan, Wang Zhi specially informed me of one thing: he has an extremely gorgeous concubine. Few people have seen her, but any that did have been invariably blown over by her beauty, and she was once a Yangzhou Lin mare. This world has many beautiful women, but Xiao Wu's soul-shaking, top-notch looks are not commonly seen. Even if she's not unique within 10,000 li, she at least ought to be unique within 1,000 li. This official is no antsy pervert that has never seen the world before. Would I not feel suspicion at such an extravagantly beautiful woman randomly popping up outside of Yangzhou city? And what you said about her background being odd, Chen Luan sent me both money and a beauty. If that beauty wasn't someone he himself valued and was familiar with, he likely wouldn't be at ease. For all those reasons, isn't it highly likely that she's his favored concubine? Dehan nodded. So, you're planning to lure her with your charms in a fake play with a real effect. If Tang Fan had liquid in his mouth right now, he would definitely have spurted it out. I don't have charms, it's not here that I want to lure. The other was confused. Tang Fan sighed. Supposedly, Chen Luan's favored concubine is exceptionally gorgeous in appearance, smart by nature, proficient in literature, and exquisite in thinking, which is why Chen Luan is so fond of her, even specially building a separate residence for her to settle in. That he was willing to use such a woman to put me in a honey trap can be considered a high regard to me. If I actually did lay with her and fall for her, a jump in the Yellow River would not even wash me clean perhaps. In the honey trap, even my ambitious heart would be whittled away, and I would only be able to shake hands and talk merrily with Chen Luan, turning into one of them. While he spoke, he began to feel amused. However, when the time comes for me to share a home with that beauty, will Chen Luan choke, or simply send her to me? Seeing him getting more off-kilter the more he spoke, Dihan had to say, "Sir, you mean that you want Chen Luan to mistakenly believe that you've been trapped?" Tang Fan shook his head, showing a devious smile. "I want him to believe that after coming to my side, Xiao Wu gradually came to like me, and even means to betray him." Dihan looked surprised. "If they can make use of a honey trap, why can't I use a counter trap?" Tang Fan continued, grinning. "Xiao Wu has Chen Luan's high regard and can be dispatched to do something like this, indicating that she has to know a lot about Chen Luan, and might even know where the real grains registry is hidden. If Chen Luan thinks that she has betrayed him and come to my side, what do you suppose he would do? Out of desperation, he would silence her," Dihan slowly spat out. Tang Fan nodded. "Right. At that time, even though she'll be of no mind to betray him, she'll have no choice but to come to my side. What a spectacular counter-trap. Suspicions within suspicions, no one could fail someone more than oneself." Dihan raised his brows high. His expression beneath his facial hair was unknowable, but judging from the inexplicable luster seen glinting in his eyes, he obviously agreed with this plan. Tang Fan pushed the wooden basin towards him with a bare foot. "You're done hearing the tale. Why aren't you leaving? Didn't you hear that this official is going to bed?" The other wordlessly bent down and picked up the tub. "Rest well, sir. This subordinate will be on guard outside." Right before he was about to leave, Tang Fan's joking voice came from behind him. "The next time you want to change your identity, remember to learn well from Dynasty beforehand, brother Guangchuan." The next morning, Tang Fan walked out of his room refreshed, and Xiao Wu was already sitting outside and smiling at him. The table next to her had all sorts of snacks upon it, all small, refined, and very cute. Dihan, who should have been standing watch outside, had gone somewhere no one knew. Tang Fan smiled. "Ah Wu, why did you get up so early?" Xiao Wu hid her mouth as she smiled. "It's not early, it's nearly noon. I made breakfast before, but since you weren't yet up, I made it again." "Why did you need to do it yourself?" "The post house has its own cook," he said, looking moved. She turned red. "You were quite sincere to me, sir. I wanted to repay it in good faith." He sighed inwardly. This woman's acting was beyond the pale. With both beautiful looks and a scheming mind, it was little wonder that Chen Luan cherished her, and not hesitate to hide her beauty away inside an expensive house. Honey traps had different ranks to them. Being able to have such a beauty try and use her charms to seduce someone made it obvious how much value Chen Luan placed onto Tang Fan. The latter was deeply honored. What a pity it was that his counterpart's plans were destined to be fail. Seeing that Tang Fan was looking at her, Xiao Wu's cheeks automatically became a bit hot, and she faintly uttered, "Sir." He came back to himself, sat down with a smile, picked up a golden fried mantou, and put it in his mouth. He hadn't eaten Xiao Wu's nighttime snacks yesterday, as he had feared that she would take that opportunity to drug him, then fabricate a story that would pour tainted water onto him. Now that it was broad daylight, even if Xiao Wu wanted to act, she would know that this was not a good time for it. "These are stuffed," he wondered. "With cherries." She smiled. "Is it good?" He nodded. "It is, very good. The craftsmanship is better than my little sister's. If you come back to the capital with me, I'll be eating well in the future." Xiao Wu smiled, lowering her head, as if exceedingly shy. Tang Fan held her soft hand. "Awu, you have barely any hairpins on you. I'll bring you to the market to buy some today." She was confused. "Aren't you going to investigate Chenluan?" He gave her a mysterious smile. "I won't keep it from you. I've actually found crucial evidence that can bring him down." "Ah. What evidence?" "Let's not speak of such drab subjects." "You won't be interested in it," he said, instead changing the subject. "Come, after we finish breakfast, I'll take you out for some fun. Chenluan gifted me 10,000 taels last time, and I haven't touched them yet. I can get you a good amount of stuff." She was rather shocked. "Why, you took his money, and yet are still going to denounce him?" Tang Fan was nonchalant. "You must not understand. This is what is called, villain eats villain." End chapter. The 14th year of Chenghua. Chapter 118. No hugs allowed. Lao Zhao was a soldier on watch outside the post house. In his opinion, magistrates or censors having a big row, embezzling, bribing and all that stuff had absolutely nothing to do with him. Minor characters should live minor character lives. As long as one could get off work, then have a cup of hot wine, a woman warming the kong, and brothers to chat about whatever with, that was enough to be satisfied with. However, minor characters also had minor character gossip. For example, he and his other brothers on duty at the post house had been extremely curious about the top-notch beauty censor Tang had brought back recently, and had guessed at her identity more than once in private. Some said that she was a concubine from his home, and because she couldn't bear the jealousy of the main wife, she snuck out to follow Master Tang when he went on a southern assignment, chasing him all the way here. Others said that she was a gift to him from some other official, and Master Tang liked her the second he saw her, instantly being unable to part from her to the extent that he insisted upon always bringing her everywhere. Others still said that she was actually a proper woman that Censor Tang had snatched after taking a liking to her. He had come on imperial orders to investigate Wujiang's famine from last year, yet had cared about getting tangled up with a woman after coming here and wasn't even caring about proper business, appearing to be a corrupt official. Rumor spread rapidly in the post house, and then gradually spread to the outside. Still, regardless of how absurd the contents of the rumors were, Lao Zhao and his colleagues could identify two major points. One was that the woman was truly beautiful, so heart-shocking and soul-movingly that she could nearly draw someone's soul out of them. Suzhou and Hangzhou had many beauties. Lao Zhao and them were native-born Suzhou folks, and considered themselves to have seen a lot of the world, unlike all those country hicks, but the beauty at Tang Fan's side was so gorgeous, she couldn't have been locally produced. With their limited knowledge of language, they couldn't fathom how to describe her looks at all. The first time they had seen her, they had only been able to stare, tongue-tied, as the beauty with a seductive air was brought into the post house by Tang Fan. After the fact, they had inwardly mocked themselves as having lost themselves too much then, but when they had witnessed Censor Yang, who was also staying in the post house, have a similar reaction to seeing the beauty, they had immediately balanced out mentally. It wasn't that they hadn't seen enough faces in the world, but that this beauty was too striking. Tang Fan picking such a flower that was more delicate than a peony, it had to be said that everyone else was awfully envious. There was still the second identified point, which was that Censor Tang heavily pampered the beauty, practically tying her to his belt and frequently bringing her out. Based on Lao Zhao's observations over the past few days, whenever Censor Tang went out, no matter where he was going or what he was doing, he would take her with him. It was even claimed that when he went to pay a visit to Mr. Magistrate at the prefectural bureau, he had brought her with him, not avoiding taboo at all, which was pretty much dumbfounding. Even so, it was unsurprising. If they could instead be the ones to be with such a woman, they too would be pretty unwilling to part from her. Those with the title of master were also human. What was so odd about it? As could one imagine, once Censor Tang returned to the capital, the beauty would definitely follow him, and if his primary wife back home wasn't a tigress, she would definitely dominate his back residence in the future. But speaking of which, such a beautiful woman not being in the emperor's harem but taken up by a fourth-rank censor, it wasn't quite clear if Censor Tang would be able to hold onto her. No matter what elements stormed and exaggerated deluges of divine petals rained down outside, Tang Fan heard none of it, continuing to bring Xiao Wu in and out. Despite carefully making Xiao Wu wear a veil to cover her features whenever they went out, with her graceful figure, who would be fooled? In not many days, nearly half the people in Wu knew that there was a top-notch, rare beauty at his side that was going everywhere and doing everything with him. Every single man sighed over Tang Fan's luck with the ladies. In Xiao Wu's opinion, though, this was feeling entirely the opposite. She had no idea that Tang Fan had already figured out her identity, merely doing her best to stay by his side and completely ruin his reputation, in accordance with Chen Luan's orders. Even if they weren't truly married, she had to do all she could to make outsiders think that she had long become Tang Fan's sole domain. Now, that plan was being implemented step by step, and Tang Fan was indeed deeply infatuated with her. She wasn't happy about it because, in spite of his infatuation, he insisted upon holding onto a nobleman's rules. Apart from hugging and holding her hand, the two's relationship had not gone any farther. That really wasn't anything noteworthy, as she had seen many self-proclaimed noblemen, and it wasn't like she had not seen his type before. What she was bothered with was something else. Now that he already liked her, he couldn't be apart from her for a single moment. Not only did he have to bring her out, but even when she took a short moment of time to go to the bathroom, she would see him looking for her all over the place with a panicked expression upon her return, and he would say stuff like, "Ah Wu, where did you run off to? I didn't see you, I couldn't do anything," and such. She had been rather fond of his graceful looks and elegance, but after interacting with him for a long time, she had discovered that the man was clingy at his core. After being bothered by him for so long, her fondness had dried up. How could she still like him? The sole consolation for her was that he did not shy away from bringing her into anything, and that included official business. Hence, over these past few days, she had not only come to learn that Hu Wenzhou had already cast his lot with Tang Fan, but also that Tang Fan's major backer was the former director of the Western Depot, and now a close subject to the emperor, Wang Zhi. Tang Fan had also informed her that the treasures sent by the Suzhou Merchant Society had since been sent to eunuch Wang in the capital. However, what really made her depressed was that because of him being so tightly bound to her, and the sneaky looks of that Jinyue being too powerful, ever since she had entered the post house, she had never been able to find an opportunity to pass word along to Chen Luan. She had only managed to take advantage of one single opportunity when Tang Fan had brought her out and she attempted to send message in a jewelry store, but in the end, it had been a stone thrown into the sea. Not the slightest bit of response came from Chen Luan. She had begun to panic. She was not afraid that she wouldn't be able to complete the task Chen Luan had assigned her, but worried that he would believe those rumors flying all about and think that she had fallen for Tang Fan, and therefore betrayed him for the latter. With how heavy Chen Luan's paranoia was and how cruel he was, it was something no one understood better than her. Just look at the number of refugees outside of Wujiang City, whose numbers waned by the day. For the sake of profits, he even dared to deceive the emperor and an imperial ambassador, to say nothing of her, a mere woman. No matter how beautiful a woman was, to men, the difference between them was that they were either a toy that could be casually thrown away, or a toy of some higher worth. Her mind was not at ease, to the point that even Tang Fan had noticed, believing her to be ill. He not only personally brought her soup but stayed by her bedside. Were another woman to have come across such a passionate man, she would have long been moved. Not Xiao Wu though. The better Tang Fan treated her, the more she fretted that Chen Luan would doubt her loyalty. Seeing her face that was somewhat pale and gaunt from lack of sleep, Tang Fan's worry defied words. "Ah Wu, what's wrong with you? Is there something on your mind? Tell me." I'm not the guardian official of Suzhou, but I can always help you resolve any of your troubles. If you keep going on like this, my heart will die from pain. His expression was one of genuine sincerity, and the heavy load on Xiao Wu's mind didn't make her feel that this was inappropriate, but rather made her heavily ponder how to get rid of Tang Fan and go make a report. She forced out a smile. I have some tightness in my chest, master. I'd like to lay down for a minute. He felt her forehead, tucking her bangs behind her ears. I'll stay with you, then, he said, voice soft. You do not need to do that. She gritted her teeth, nearly wanting to say as much aloud. Thankfully, her reason was still in place and she swallowed them back down, just like one would swallow down a mouthful of blood. Knocking came from the door right then. Tang Fan got up to open it, only to see a post-house worker carrying in a medicine bowl. Sir, this is the medicinal brew you wanted, freshly made, he said diligently. Set it down, Tang Fan replied with a nod. He was not as affectionate towards the worker as he was towards Xiao Wu, naturally. Ah Wu, drink. This is to help calm the mind. Afterwards, you'll be able to sleep well and be just fine when you wake up. He picked up the bowl, carefully helping her up. With him currently being a true fourth-rank official, such a feat was truly not easy, and if she were any other woman, she might have truly been affected. Unfortunately, her thoughts were not going that way at all. I can do it myself. She took the bowl, then lowered her head, about to drink. Wait, he suddenly said, taking the bowl she held back. The movement was a tad abrupt, causing some of the liquid to splash onto both of their hands. Dihan! Dihan, are you there? Tang Fan shouted. Present, came the deep response from outside. Bring a dog or a cat here. The other agreed without further question. Xiao Wu's attention was diverted at last by him. You, what? I felt that the smell of this medicine is a bit off. She was startled. There was that worker that just brought the medicine, too. He looked a little unfamiliar, and after he came in, he didn't glance at you like other people have. That's really abnormal. Xiao Wu had wanted to crack a joke about him making a big fuss over nothing, but upon thinking of something unknown, her face suddenly became white. Dihan quickly returned with a puppy in his hold. At Tang Fan's indication, he picked up the medicine bowl and poured it into the puppy's mouth. In a short while, the puppy howled, seeming to squirm in Dihan's arms in horrible pain. The instant he let it go, it collapsed onto the ground, limbs twitching a few times before it completely stopped moving at all. Tang Fan was furious. This had to be someone trying to get at me. Why did they not target me but try to hurt Ah Wu? Maybe they thought that with Miss Xiao gone, it would cause your mind to spiral, thus exposing your weakness, Dihan answered. After their exchange, Tang Fan turned around in want to comfort Xiao Wu, only to find that her complexion was getting paler, jumping in fright. He gripped her hand, which was also freezing cold. Ah Wu, what's the matter? She didn't respond. Her delicate frame shuddered uncontrollably, and she remained silent as he took her into his arms. He lightly patted her on the back, comforting her in a soft voice. It's all right. Everything will be fine. After consoling her for a long while until she laid down again, he left her room, returning to his own. And as soon as his front foot went in, someone followed him on his heel. He knew who it was without needing to look back, unhappy. If you come and go like this, how would anyone believe that you're an ordinary subordinate? You'll give yourself away too easily. This subordinate isn't an ordinary subordinate to begin with. I'm a personal bodyguard. Unintentionally or not, he put heavy emphasis on the word personal while his eyes were fixed on Tang Fan. Tang Fan made a fist, put it to his lips and coughed fakely. I was busy setting things up lately and never had time to ask, with your status, How could you have easily left the capital to come find me? Something happened in Jiangxi. His Majesty ordered me to handle it in person, so I took a detour to Suzhou while I was at it to see you. You're abusing your power. Tang Fan scolded, half mad. The trace of a smile appeared in Dihan's eyes. So, what if I am? Yanli and the rest went ahead. I just missed you terribly. Those straightforward, not even slightly embellished words coming out of his mouth were more effective than a limpid look from Xiao Wu. Master Tang's handsome face instantly turned a bit red. Dihan reached out, gently touched his shoulder, and then his hand went all the way down along it, until it stopped on the other's hand. Once his fingers brushed his palm, he unsurprisingly felt the man's hand quickly shrink back. However, Dihan's reaction was quicker. Before the other could take a step back in response, he grabbed his hand tightly. Upon skin contact, he found that Tang Fan's knuckles were slim and evenly proportioned, similar to the feeling of his feet from the other day. Without a doubt, these hands were used to create beautiful writing pieces. Tang Fan was a little embarrassed. Enough. Let's just talk business. Even as he said that though, he didn't break contact. Seemingly aware that he was especially thin-skinned in this respect, Dihan didn't tease him much, only smiling. Xiao Wu must now believe that Chen Luan intended to give that poison to her. Tang Fan hummed. She's someone who understands that she needs to make plans for herself and is shrewder than the average woman. This event alone will not be enough to deceive her, nor be enough to make her come to a decision. We need to make her understand two things. One is that Chen Luan will definitely be taken down and out of luck, and the other is that Chen Luan is suspicious of her and wants to silence her, where even if she's thinking of him, he won't place importance onto her. What are you thinking of doing? Tang Fan gave a sagely smile. I have to ask you for a favor in putting on a good show, to make her believe all that completely. There's just one thing. Don't hug her anymore. Xiao Wu spent the night with non-stop nightmares and restless emotions. Early the next morning, Tang Fan came looking for her. Ah Wu, it's much too dangerous here. I want to bring you to the capital as soon as possible to get you out of here. She was taken aback. Are you finished with your proper business, sir? Are you not going to take down Chen Luan anymore? He smiled mysteriously at her. It's all near about done. I've already passed on evidence of Chen Luan's crimes. I'm just waiting for an issued order from the capital for how to handle it. Xiao Wu was utterly confused. Because of her identity, she knew many things about Chen Luan, including why he was so unbridled. It wasn't just because his uncle was Nanjing's Minister of Revenue but also because he gave many annual gifts to the capital. To put it bluntly, local Emperor Chen Luan not only had a tie to the Eastern Depot via Suzhou's merchant society but he and his uncle were even members of the Wan Group. It was precisely because of that he had sold Wujiang's government provisions, colluded with Yang Ji, and even regarded Tang Fan, an imperial ambassador, as unimportant. Fearing his might, Suzhou magistrate Hu Wenzhao had also been too afraid to speak out at first, and had Chen Luan not used him as a shield, he likely wouldn't have cooperated with Tang Fan to this day. Consort Wan, the Wan Group's backer, had no sons but it was said that she had formed an alliance with Consort Xiao, ready to support her son as the crown prince and incite the emperor to abolish the current crown prince. Xiao Wu had learned a lot from Chen Luan, so she didn't think that Tang Fan alone would be able to bring him down. Even having Wang Ji backing him might not be enough, as what Tang Fan was dealing with was not Chen Luan at all but the complicated mess of a colossus behind him. Now that he had sworn that he was capable of handling Chen Luan, Xiao Wu was beyond shocked, her first response inevitably being disbelief. And yet, with Tang Fan's infatuation towards her, he certainly wasn't lying. What evidence did you get on him, master? She thus asked, but as soon as she did, she appeared to realize something, then lowered her head in shame. These aren't things I should be asking about. I've overstepped. Tang Fan didn't mind, gripping her hand. I told you before that Chen Luan is backed by consort Wan's group, which includes her younger brother Wan Tong, the current head of the cabinet Wanan, and so on. You should remember that. Seeing her nod, he continued. That's actually really easy to handle. I just need to deal with Chen Luan alone this whole time with no plans at all to involve the people from the Wan group. No matter how domineering Chen Luan is, he's nothing more than a pawn to them. If he isn't there, the Wujiang magistrate can be swapped out for someone else. It isn't that important of a position. A storm was raging in Xiao Wu's heart, but she could only show a delicate expression on her face. But, isn't his uncle the Nanjing's Minister of Revenue? Would he sit and watch his nephew be denounced by you? Tang Fan smiled. Well, there's no harm in telling you. I have some senior supporter from the capital that were forced out to Nanjing by the Wan group, one of which is the former Minister of Justice, Zhang Ying. He's already found evidence of Minister Chen's corruption and denounced him. Minister Chen is currently too busy to even look after himself, so how would he have the spare time to look after his nephew? She gaped. Would that work? Why wouldn't it? Outsiders talk too much, and you wouldn't understand. All you need to know in short is that even though the Wan group is tremendously powerful, it has a lot of its own worries, and so long as you don't try to take it down with you in mutual destruction, it won't struggle to the death with you. Chen Luan is only the hegemon of the Wujiang region. If he doesn't have his uncle, what even is he? To tell the truth, he's already a little anxious right now since he can't get in contact with Hu Wenzhou and doesn't know what I'm planning. He's currently plotting to be the villain, filing a complaint first, thus trying to get me out using the Wan group. Maybe they'll try to say that I accepted bribes in Wujiang and indulged in feminine wiles. Unfortunately, Chen Luan has no idea that I've already handed that money over to His Majesty. With that, he laughed, which was filled with ridicule for Chen Luan. Xiao Wu couldn't laugh, though. This conversation had turned her heart upside down, and she couldn't calm down for a good while. She had to admit that he had made a lot of sense. She had only seen Chen Luan's rampant side, having never imagined that, in the eyes of this imperial ambassador from the capital, he was not any sort of invulnerable. Upon standing in a different spot, the problems one saw would become different. Chen Luan was a charming man that treated her well, but his means were just as vicious. She didn't really care that much about him, simply worried about how to save her own skin. If he were to be taken down, what could she do? Yesterday's poison event had left her with some lingering fear. Tang Fan's group thought that the poison was meant for Tang Fan, with Xiao Wu an unexpected collateral damage. Only she knew that it was very possible that Chen Luan felt that she had betrayed him, and thus couldn't wait to keep her quiet. Thinking of this, she bit her bottom lip until it turned white. "Ah Wu, what's wrong?" Tang Fan's voice brought her back to herself. She forced a smile. "I'm fine. You've been distracted recently. Do you not want to come with me to the capital?" Tang Fan asked, brow creased. "It isn't that." She shook her head. "To be able to accompany you is my blessing. It's just that I've felt stuffy in my chest lately, and adding that with the drugging incident, I'm really terrified." Saying so, she buried herself into his arms, as if wanting to extract a sense of security from him. He held her, thinking to himself, she threw herself at me, I didn't hug her on my own initiative. Even if she's a peerless beauty, putting on an act every single day is exhausting. Still, he looked as gentle as ever. "In that case, the weather is nice today, so why don't you go on a walk with me? The headpieces I ordered last night should be made by now. Do you want to take a look at them yourself? If something isn't right, you can have them change it while you're there." She really didn't want to go out, but her thought processes were slowly starting to change. At the beginning, she had been as untrue as a winding snake, which had slowly become a fake act with real actions at this point. Tending towards Tang Fan's thoughts, She smiled softly. As you wish. Then, she whispered, it's entirely my disappointing health and sickness all these days that has made me unable to truly serve you, sir. I. After all that talking, she started blushing. Tang Fan had adhered to a nobleman's courtesy in not touching her, and she had been happy to not whet his appetite, too. That stemmed from her being learned in male psychology, and knowing that those that succeed too easily would never cherish anything. Human nature had a contemptible foundation, and men treated women as much. The more reserved Xiao Wu was, the more Tang Fan would end up cherishing her like a treasure. Thus, in spite of their two different minds, they were both at ease and she had never suspected his behavior. Silly girl, he said softly. Your health getting better is the best compensation for me. Do you still not know what I feel for you? She looked touched. Due to her frailness, he specially found a cloak for her to wear before he brought her out. They weren't taking a carriage, and their escort consisted of only Dihan, which could be considered as light packing. After being nearly poisoned though, Xiao Wu had some lingering worries. Sir, you only brought gonfalon did. Will that be safe? It will be. He's only one person but he can match the strength of dozens with no change in expression, Tang Fan explained with a smile. You wouldn't know this but his martial arts have even been praised by His Majesty. Why else would he have been sent by Zhang Qinhu? Stunned, she couldn't help but smile. It seems that your relationship with the Jinyue is quite good for them to transfer over a talent like him. There was a probing nature in her words but Tang Fan didn't notice, just nodding. I won't hide it from you. I have a very good friendship with the current commander of the Northern Administrative Court Division. He follows me wherever I go and I can't get rid of him. Were it not for His Majesty putting him on some other task, he definitely would have come with me. That all seemed to have elements of exaggerated but he was presently being followed by a Jinyue, so it wasn't that much of a brag. Xiao Wu mostly believed it, further plans brewing in her mind. Dihan, following behind them, was looking downwards, like their conversation had nothing to do with him. The three stayed in the jewelry store for a time. Once Xiao Wu had picked her headpiece as well, Tang Fan brought her outside. It's still early. Let's find a tea house and sit for a bit, since it near about lunchtime. If we go back, you'll have to stay in that little room again, which would be boring, Tang Fan said with a smile. As you wish, master, Xiao Wu answered, having no opinion. However, before she quite finished speaking, something happened. Three people rushed at Tang Fan and Xiao Wu from three different directions: the right, the left, the front, with sharp blades in hand and a fierce momentum. Xiao Wu was completely dumbstruck. She wasn't a martial artist in the slightest, caught off guard in a wink, she could only watch this all unfold. What was even more terrifying was the discovery that their target was not Tang Fan but her. End chapter.